Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Donnie with Designs by Donnie, and today's video is all about how to build this really unique pattern barn door. I hope you guys enjoy it, and let's get started. Let's go.
I chose to go with really old cypress lumber for this project. It's a really cool wood, it's got a lot of texture and a lot of character, and I think that's going to really enhance the look of this barn door. The lumber I'm starting with is 8/4, which is a true 2 inches thick. I'm going to cut it down, spread it out over my table, and show you how this is basically going to look. I'm just loading up right now the stiles and the rails and the center support. It's going to go something like this. Although this lumber was in pretty good shape, I did find a few twists in it. So I made some reference marks, I ran the face through my joiner, then I ran a side through it, and then I took it over to the planer for a couple of passes, as I'm trying to get this door down to 1 3/4 inches. I don't want to bore you guys with a ton of footage on the milling process, so I breezed through it, and we're moving on to the table saw now. I need to cut these stiles and these rails down to size. So after I had lined my stock guides from Jessam Tools up, which is really awesome by the way, I was able to cut my stiles and my rails down to size. It's going to look something like this on the table, and it's going to have also a center support. You'll see what I mean here in a minute. Once I had the frame laid out how I wanted it to appear, I went around with blue masking tape and a Sharpie marker, and I labeled each piece, that way I would know which is the face. I went over to my table saw, I loaded up the dado stack, and I ran the boards through. I'm doing an 1 inch deep dado by 3/4 inch. The groove is going to go all the way around the inside perimeter of the stiles and the rails. And once that's done, we're going to move on over to the rails and cut the tongues out. It's going to be like a tongue and groove. Same situation as if you were going to make a cabinet door, just much bigger. When you're working with cypress or any other old lumber, sometimes it can be a bear to work with. I enjoy working with this wood. However, I got it dried out to around 7% moisture content, so I had a few hiccups with some stress cracks, and off camera I had to finesse it a little bit with a mallet and chisel, but I got it all looking pretty good, and I got it to where I want it. Now I'm just going to dry fit it. Dry fitting is just a process that you really need to do with everything. I'm just going to basically attach all the pieces, make sure everything lines up well before we move on to the next step. I like the fit. It came out really well. You can see the tongues here, and you can see the dado grooves around the inside of the perimeter. Now it's time to glue it up. We're just going to apply Titebond glue to the tongues, glue up, and clamp it down. Now we're only going to clamp down 1 rail and 2 stiles and the center support, leaving the other side open. While the glue cures, I'm going back to the miter station. I need to cut all the panels for the inside. Off camera, I milled them up through the joiner and the planer, and then I took them down and sanded them smooth. Next step was to go to the router table. I need to put a tongue and a groove on each one of these planks so they go together well. But I wanted there to be a 1/4 inch offset. In other words, there was going to be an exposed gap, like right there. I think it just added an extra pop of dimension and a cool element. So once I figured out my angles, which was around 24 degrees, I cut them both on each side so they would match, and then I just moved them from the open end of the barn door. It's easily sliding down, however, overnight these planks swelled up a little bit. We had some rain, some heavy moisture came in, and I usually have about a 32nd of a gap there, so they go in really nice and smooth. Some of these planks gave me some trouble, but I got them into place. Let's talk about the interior panels. You do not want to glue them. If you glue them, you could cause warpage, and you want to allow these panels to be able to change with the weather. As seasonal wood contracts and expands, this gives it room to move. Therefore, you don't add any glue to the interior panels. But now that I've got my last few pieces cut, it's almost time for another dry fit just to make sure it all goes well. Once that does, we're going to glue it down and repeat the process. Hey guys, if you're enjoying the video so far, please be sure to go ahead and click the subscribe button now and turn that bell on so you'll get notified every time a new video drops. This is very important to me as I'm trying to grow my channel, and I really appreciate the support. Thank you guys. project is coming along really well. Dry fit went well, the glue up is going well, I'm clamping it down, and I want to say after I clamped it all down, I let it sit for 4 hours before I removed the clamps. Let's address some of those stress cracks that I found. I'm taking a little CA glue and I'm applying it in the cracks now. This will help stabilize the crack or the seam or any knots, and it won't open up any further. This next step is pretty straightforward. I'm using 80 grit sandpaper. I'm going all around and all over the entire door, and I'm going to step my way up from 80 to 220. Time to square up the door a little bit. During the glue up phase, I must have moved it around a little bit and I got about 1/8 of an inch out. No big deal, but I'm going to straighten it out. I'm going to put a straight edge on there and I'm going to run my circular saw across it. I don't currently have a track saw. I do have one coming to me next month. I'm so looking forward to it because this is how I've been doing this forever, and although this works, the track saw would make it much more efficient. Once the door was all squared up, I took a 1/4 inch roundover bit and I went around the entire outside perimeter of the door on both sides. I also did one final sand of 220 just to take care of any scratches or nicks that I may have missed.
Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is part 1 of 2 videos. This barn door was a really fun build. I had a blast making it and I hope you enjoyed it. Next week will be part 2. That will be doing the finishing technique, installing all the hardware, and installation in the house. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned for next week and I'll see you next time.